When we started, this cop had some demons to exercise. He had insane anxiety. Just the concept of tanking kind of really scared him. He wasn't in a good, healthy mind space for it. Looking at the way he's playing now, it's clear that all of that is in the past. He's moving and playing with confidence. He's no longer worried about every single thing that happened in a dungeon. Still very hard on himself, but he now has a healthy relationship with the role. We're clearly on to step 2 of the process now, and that's helping him refine some of his bigger macro scale issues. One that was identified early in these videos that can all be found in the playlist down below was his lack of activity. I think is probably the best way to put it when using certain spells. For example, if you look at my footage, you see I'm oftentimes spamming spells even before they're usable or before the case to use them arises. When I'm pulling at range, I'm oftentimes spamming whatever spell I'm going to use because Blizzard won't let me use it if I'm too far away. So then it kind of in my brain tells me like, all right, well, I'm going to actually use this, physically press the button the second it can be used then if I'm spamming it the whole way there. That's the complete opposite of how Cop's playing. He's got some problems with just activity in general, I think. And today we're going to try to address that as the biggest problem I see facing his character and the way he plays it. And then I hope that once we hammer this down, we'll be able to move on from here. Tell me what you guys think after watching this. Looks like it's square, I think. Oh no, it's circle.
Circle.
So better get over there quick. Oh, nope. Okay, it's fine. It's not really that dangerous. We use the Ox here too. It's a big DPS CD. I didn't realize how much damage this thing actually does. It's like your top damage if you use it well. This one is that triangle. Gonna miss it, but yeah, it was good. It was a good key because really if it wasn't, we didn't wipe on that. Second boss would have been easy.
Triangle.
Oop. Yeah, whenever it's like late in the fight, you basically just have to go through 3 to get it. So just missed it. I think honestly, if we did this fight a little bit better, it would have been, well, the guy dies anyway. Yeah, it was a good effort. Certainly, really not really much that I would say that you did wrong in there.
Oh yeah, we're over 2100 now.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, you've been over 2100. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about what we learned this
Sure.
week. Tell me like how you feel about what's happened this week.
I've learned that I really need to use a few things better. The most recent blackout kick we were talking about, I need to use that in conjunction with my my keg smash because names are hard to remember when you.
Let's go ahead and move those keybinds. Let's go ahead and swap those keybinds. I think you'll immediately be better off.
Tiger Palm and blackout kick.
Yeah,
Yep.
because basically you're using keg or you're using Tiger Palm as often as you should be using blackout kick. So that'll solve that problem right there.
I need to be more aware of things that are going on, so I need to be doing this more with my left mouse button.
Yeah, so one of the big issues right now is I feel like there's like a general lack of awareness when the pack starts. Do you have any reason? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I kind of have to think about that because
Like, I think if you watch back this footage, you'll be really surprised. Like, you kind of like the pack aggroes and you just don't do anything for like 5 seconds and the pack just runs by you constantly. And I'm not sure what's causing that.
I
Definitely
think what
really.
happens there sometimes is I'm trying to use my abilities while I'm still mounted because they should dismount me, and it's just not. So what I have to do is I have to manually dismount before I start pulling things.
Like,
I
what
don't.
spell are you trying to use? That's failing. I don't get that.
The ones that I've noticed, Keg Smash, Crackling Jade Lightning, and Provoke, have not worked while I was mounted.
We go through what happened there. So we pull the pack. It's aggroed, like they're fighting you, but you're still on your mount, and you're on your mount for like 5 seconds, and I don't know why
Yeah,
that
because
happened.
it's because there was more than one pack that I was trying to pull. So I'd move into aggro range of this one. I'd target this one, and I'd try to do this, but it wouldn't do anything because I was mounted, and I would be like, "What the heck's going on? Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working?" And then
Oh, really? You have it set up so no,
I
surely in modern WoW, it will just auto dismount you whenever you use a spell,
That's
no?
what I thought. That's what I thought, but it wasn't dismounting me.
I think you were just fumbling with the button. I'm not really sure. But anyway, that happened like 5 or 6 times in today's stream. So it's tough to play the game at times with like low activity. Like there's a lot of things going on, right? Like especially at the start of a pull, this is the time that we need to be the most active. Because it feels like in the beginning of every pack, you're like bewildered or like really lost or something. And then it takes you a few seconds and then you stabilize and everything starts going well. But the beginning of the pull is like, that's
Most
really
important
the
time.
most important part. Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you got mobs like running all around and we're not aggroing them and you're just not even looking at them and we're not doing anything about that, like unfortunately that's just really not okay. Like that's not going to work.
Yeah.
People aren't going to be all right with that. They're not going to watch that happen 5, 6 pulls in a row and then just be happy about that.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that you're in terms of like the other 95% of combat, you're crushing it, dude. The character looks like unkillable at times. You're playing it well, like outside of the blackout kick thing, you're doing everything what I would recommend to doing. You're actually better at Brewmaster than I am right now. Just that whole like awareness on the pull is very strange, and I'm not really because
Oh,
it's second nature for me, so it's hard for me to diagnose the issue. I think is
yeah.
the problem.
I wonder if we could, put up something to buttress that by actually starting to use Rushing Jade Wind. Because from what everybody tells me, that helps with aggro
That
if
would
it's
be
always up.
a good solution to the problem, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think you'd be surprised. Like you don't. So let's talk about Rushing Jade Wind. Rushing Jade Wind is a spell that it lasts longer than the cooldown. Okay, so this is important for a few reasons. Because one, it means that if you use it well, you will have 100% uptime on the spell. Okay. The reason people recommend it over special delivery is because special delivery can do good damage, but a lot of times it won't hit the mobs. I think it's very overblown how many times people are saying it's going to miss, but yeah, it obviously can miss where Rushing Jade Wind cannot miss. And the other thing about talent is that it fills out the spec, pretty much like a lack of a global every once in a while. So even if that was the only time you ever used it, it would make the rotation more fluid. And I don't know if you care about that or not, but for me, like it can
I,
get boring if you're playing a spec that's got like dead globals every once in a while. So
I,
those three things are why everybody else talks about it. Okay. But why
mhm,
we are talking about it today is because it's going to solve a lot of your problems on the pull here. So what you're
yeah.
going to do is before you aggro, before you do anything, you're going to use Rushing Jade Wind. Now, if you've ever watched me play DK, I talk about this all the time, where I put the Death and Decay on the ground and it doesn't aggro mobs. I call that global zero. It's you setting up your global one. Okay. I put D&D
Yeah.
down, the mobs run into it as I aggro them, and then I heart strike or whatever. And so this is exactly what you're going to do with Rushing Jade Wind. You're not going to use Rushing Jade Wind to aggro the mobs. You're going to use it out of combat and then run into the mobs. So it hits them and then you keg smash them. Okay. And that's how we're going to aggro. That's going to solve this weird I'm stuck on my mount thing, because you're obviously going to be getting off the mount with Rushing
Off
Jade
the
Wind.
mount.
It's gonna like solve the problem of you just ran through the pack and didn't do any threat to it, and they just run right past you. And in general, it should give you a little bit more use, like you're going to be more active as
Yeah.
the tank. And I think that those three things together will just immediately get you in a better like mind space for
Yeah.
the activity of the start of the dungeon or the start of the pull. 50% of the difficulty is the first three globals, and if I do them well, or I do something that could keep me alive in those first three globals, I'm alive, and that's it, and the pack is over. Once you have it, you've done the threat job, you've done the survival job, and you use your CDs well. That's it. The pack's now like, okay, wake me up when the next pack starts. So that as a tank is like the most important part of tanking. And so if we can just get better at that, then yeah, we'll absolutely be in a really good position.
I kind of think I should switch that with Tiger Palm now because that way it's on my main thing and I'm not using a modifier to select to use it.
Yeah, so let's also talk about keybinds a little bit too, because this was a topic 2 weeks ago. And so tell me like what you're most comfortable, because like I have the Razer Naga and everything. We have keybinds similar, very similar, but this is how I laid my keyboard or my keybinds out. 4, 5, and 6 are the rotational spells. Usually 2 and 3 would be like AOE spells or small CD spells that do multi-target damage. 7 is my taunt. 8 is a utility spell, and 9 is my interrupt. That is that way on every single character I've ever played. And because of that, 4, 5, and 6 are the ones I press the most frequently. 2 and 3
Mhm.
are the instinctual AoE spells. 7 is the taunt instinctual spell. 8 is the instinctual utility spell. And 9 is the interrupt. And I've done that in a uniform way on every character. So tell me a little bit about your philosophy.
I'm gonna frame this as Windwalker because it's the only way I know how to frame it. So I would use number one as my main resource builder. Number three is my mobility. Number two is a single target big hit spell. 4, 5, and 6 generally are going to be AoE stuff. 7, 8 are generally my two big DPS cooldowns. 9 is kind of my rotational heal stuff like Expel Harm and Chi Wave or Chi Burst. 0 is kind of going to be, I forget what it is. I think that's actually probably my Tiger, my Zwen. So that's another big DPS one. 11 is going to be my Interrupt. 12 is, was Touch of Death for the longest time.
And so the interrupt is the same on, okay, yeah. So these types of
Yeah, yeah.
things are the same on both.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I tried to put roll there. I tried to put
Yeah.
ring there. You know what I mean? And I never use my taunt, my provoke, so it's way over there. So I swapped it out with my transcendence. One thing like this is where my transcendence goes. This is where my food goes. This is where buff goes.
So the topic about the one key then. So this is basically your like most used key, is that right?
Pretty much. That's the biggest chi builder, because Fist of the White Tiger has much longer cooldown. So this is your primary chi builder, or resource builder, if you would.
Yeah.
So yeah, the number one key is going to be the primary resource builder, and secondary is here and here. But of course, we don't have that on Brew.
Okay, so here's my thoughts. All right, so this is the weird thing about Brewmaster, and I was actually kind of this is kind of why I'm liking it so much too. The way the rotation works is they don't really have a spammable spell. Now they do
Yeah,
because it's Tiger Palm. It's not something that you want to spam. Like you don't want to use like for Blood DK, Hard Strike is the most used spell and it's the most spammable spell, right? So
yeah,
4 is the key that like if I'm blinded, if somebody's like put a blindfold on me, I'm still just gonna spam 4. Like that's my
yeah,
default key, right? And so whatever
yeah.
your default key is as Brewmaster is what I would put Keg Smash on. Because Keg Smash
That,
is the one that if you just even if it doesn't work, like the spell is not off cooldown, you got to use this thing as often as humanly possible. It's just that important for everything the spec does. And then after that, the second would be Blackout Kick. But so the
yeah,
weird thing about this spec is that both of those have cooldowns. That's pretty
mhm,
abnormal, I find. Like usually a tank especially has like a pretty spammable spell, a spell that you're going to use, you're going to press as often as you can. And so those spells are the ones that you want to spam, but they actually have cooldowns. So the way I've
yeah.
been finding it is basically Keg Smash, Blackout Kick, Keg Smash. You know, it's like they have this kind of
Back
like
and forth.
almost like it's the same spell. Yeah, like you kind of just bounce back and forth between them. And so I've really liked this because I've gone from the last year of just literally pressing the 4 key over and over and over and over and over again to now actually having a little bit more balance in between the keys I'm pressing. And it sounds weird, but that's like really good for my wrist. I have a lot of trouble with my wrist at times. So, you know, it could just purely be the place that the keybind is. And that's for me like if I let's put it this way, if I put like my hard strike on the 0 key or even on like the 1 key, it would be a lot harder for me to use. And just because of
Mhm.
that, my mind's going to use it less. Like I'm going to be less inclined to use it. Put yourself in a position where you're the most comfortable to press these important spells. And, you know, taunt was the one that was brought up 2 weeks ago because
Yeah,
at the time somebody was basically saying like he's got taunt on a bad key. Now I don't really know if that's true or not. If you feel like Control 5 is a bad key for you or not.
it's definitely underused as a Windwalker, and the only reason it went there is because we were changing it around in the middle of a dungeon. Like
Yeah.
it was on my little Alt bar, Control Shift bar, and I was just like, I got to put it somewhere. I don't use Transcendence. We'll put it there. Yeah, that's definitely something I can look at putting somewhere else. Honestly, you know what? Moving Tiger Palm around everywhere, but Shift One is something I use quite a bit, and the reason is because that's my Touch of Karma as a
Oh, okay.
Windwalker. So to have that, that's a very easy key to push. It's just Shift and one, because one is something I use a lot, Tiger Palm. Two is something I use a lot because Rising Sun Kick. Three is something I use a lot because it's Fists of Fury.
And like I said, even if you don't use it as often as you should, it's gonna fill a gap that you have right now with your character's like
Yeah.
potential. And so you just use that on the pull before the pull, sorry, like zero, global zero, and you will
Global Zero.
immediately double your threat, and you'll have this problem solved where these small, weird, like confluences of issues are happening. That will
Yeah.
solve all of them almost kind coincidentally.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to spend a few hours on the training dummies, just getting my mind into that
Well,
kind of
so
place.
that's I think that might be the issue. Like the training dummies don't run past you if you don't have threat on them. I
Yeah.
think that
No,
that
no.
might be the issue. Like you got to get out there
Yeah.
more and practice tanking because there's a lot of times when it's like feel like we're really hard to
No.
believe that you're watching these mobs run by you and you're not doing anything about it.
Yeah, I think one of the things is I really struggle with is the idea of multiple things needing to be done at the same time, and then it just freezes me for half a second.
Yeah, that's what I'm
You
seeing.
know?
It seems like that, yeah. You're kinda, like, lost for, like, 3
Yeah,
or 4 seconds, you're lost, and then as soon as you find it, you're good, but it's, like, on the pull, and it's easy for me because as Blood DK, the pull is everything. Like, if let's put it this way, if you were playing Blood DK, you die on every single pack. The way that you're
yeah,
acting at the first 5 globals of the pull or 3 globals of the pull, you would die on every single pack. So, it's not you would learn this, you know, if you were playing Blood DK, you would be forced to learn this. You know, today we
yeah,
did see it, you know, that guy got mad and tilted and left over it basically, but it's like,
yeah,
these are really fixable issues, and it is definitely the tank. You know, we could talk about people pulling threat and it's a two-way street all
yeah,
we want, but you're not even establishing threat. Like the mobs are
yeah,
just
yeah,
running right
yeah,
by you.
yeah,
So the street has to at least be
100%.
open.
Just putting Rushing Jade Wind in there and moving some of these keybinds around is going to help a ton.
I think so too. I think that'll really solve it.
Well, thanks, bud. I don't know what else, if there's anything else we need to really discuss. So
No, that seems like everything. I mean, we got a lot. We didn't necessarily get a lot of progress done today, but we did learn a lot. I think this is an
yeah.
important thing.
Everything went so easy, even though I was making huge mistakes before. I was learning less than I probably should have, because you
Yep.
learn from failing a lot more than you do from succeeding.
This is what I've been telling people for months now, dude. Like these keys are too easy. Like they're not. It's unfair. Blizzard really screwed people over because people are used to thinking like, oh, a 15 is like a key that I'm gonna do and then I'm gonna stop at. But you don't learn a single thing from a 15, dude. Like it's a joke. It's so freaking easy. These keys are way too easy right now. This is gonna be a trend moving forward. Maybe they want more players doing 20s now because there's more incentives for them. There's more rewards for them. Maybe that's what they're trying to aim at here. I don't know if this
Yeah.
is intentional or what. But yeah, like you did not really learn anything about the difficulties of tanking in the first stream. And that was just because everything we did that stream was way too easy. But we
Yeah.
had to build up that confidence. Now that you're more confident, now it's time to learn a little bit more about the tanking stuff.
Adversity builds prosperity,
That's right.
you know? Well, I guess there's only one thing to say at the end of this stream. See you in Pittsburgh.
Can't wait.